And while you're doing so, we'd love to maybe think out loud if you have any questions or concerns or comments or whatnot. We'd love to hear them.
Okay, so just start the translation.
Yep.
Oh, sorry. Something wrong in my mouse. Is there a tool here that I can actually copy the full segment into?
No, unfortunately.
There's no, so I can just copy. Because I know that if I press enter here, it won't go, it won't create a new line. It just goes to the next segment, right? Yeah, that could be useful to also have the possibility to create a new line by pressing enter, like in Word.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's useful that you actually get descriptions and some input on what you're translating, mostly for localization. When localizing softwares or websites, you just get very short sentences that out of their context they don't mean anything, or abbreviations. So having actually here a small description or input on the segment is actually very useful. Does this translate the segment or the document? Okay. No, I was just wondering whether it would translate all the segments or just the segments. No, it was actually what I wanted to avoid, to have all the document translated once, but just to see how what happens if I just ask the system to translate just one segment. Okay. Now, for example, at this segment, it's sometimes useful to have a suggested translation when it's just very short sentences, like maybe these ones, because that spares you time. You don't have to type all the text again. But for this segment, for example, when you have longer sentences, the Google Translator, of course, cannot translate it fully, and then it distracts you to think how the proper translation could be, and sometimes the final result is not really appropriate. I must say, another thing I usually do when translating, I probably think that's my thing. I don't know about the other translators. I spend much time on the very first version of the translation, so I make sure that the terms I translate are correct, that I did all the researches I have to do, and I'm sure of the terms I translated. I try to do it really at best, so that at the second review, at the first or second review, that spares me much time, and I just have to concentrate on the flow of language, not again on checking whether the terms were correct, or just go through again and review all the document. I just concentrate on how to make it nicer. But the first version to me should be already 100% correct version. And that's why sometimes maybe STL or other translators are translation tools are not very optimal. Is there a way I can actually put this sentence into a turn base so that it comes up when I translate as a suggestion? They're correct, but in this case, I would think that this word is specifically addressing these parts, so this word, which in Italian is declined differently. And this would be, singular masculine, this would be feminine and plural, so that's not useful. And these others, of course, are different tags, so it could be useful if they contain some terminology that I don't know, so I can see how it is translated and I don't have to search for the terminology. But specifically, no, they're not correct. No, I was wondering whether in this list of suggestions I could also see what I just translated, because that's the very same sentence.
Yes. So ideally that's supposed to happen, but sometimes it takes a while if you just translate it for it to show up in the memory.
Okay.
But that would be useful.
Oh, here it is. Okay, you cannot double click on a screen. I'm not sure I understand the description here. It says it's plural, but they want to be translated for one. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, thanks for the feedback there. The purpose is to, yeah, I think you did it right. The purpose is to translate it for the variety of plural rules in your language, and different languages have different plural rules.
Okay.
Great. I think that is good for now. Do you have any general feedback on this tool? Like maybe one thing that you really like about it, or a few things that you don't like about it?
Well, I'm not very acquainted with this tool as I have used that just a couple of times. One was actually for one of your projects to translate that. You know, when you don't really know or are used to working with a tool, it takes a while before you actually understand how to use it at best. But from a first sight, I would say that it's quite useful, more or less as average as all cat tools. Those couple of things that came up when translating, like transferring the segment directly into the translation segment would be useful. And I think it's very useful that being on Google Plus, you can actually then work on it with other, adding comments, and it's easier to work than with a network of translators without having to upload huge packages like in SDL, and that takes time, of course. Being online, it's much easier.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. Do you have any other feedback or questions for us?
No, I think that's all.
Okay. Song, do you have any questions?
This one? It definitely is when you have a big document, of course, with thousands of segments, just to check what you have translated and saved, which probably would mean that you're much more confident that your translation doesn't need any further review, and just seeing it as a draft, then you know that you can just you have to review it, and if you can select directly all the segments that are just with the draft status, then of course it's in a way useful, because you have them all together without having to look for them in the document. On the other way, if you just take the document, the segments away from their context, it could be more difficult then to understand what the translation should be. Like without having to go, it is actually more useful than going onto a segment and just changing the status. But can you actually change once you have translated that, turn it to a draft again? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you properly. Yeah, can you actually do that? Because when it's in on the translated status, I don't see how I could just turn it into a draft. Maybe, you know, second thoughts, you would like to review it in a second moment. Can you do that? Mhm. It depends if I have completely no clue of what that word could mean, then a dictionary would be useful. Usually you do understand what the word means, but you're not completely sure of the correct word to use in your language. That's the case when you do technical translations or legal translations. In that case, I would just do a research in on the web just to check how it is translated and looking for similar documents. I think that sometimes having the possibility to link these hertools to a dictionary may be useful. Mhm. You mean from the layout or from the tools actually? Well, the layout is it's pretty much immediate and understandable. On the other hand, with SDL, you really know how to use it to be able to use it. In this case, any translator, even if they don't have previous experiences with other couples, so could use this one because it's really simple. And I mean, major actions and tools you can find very easily. So, of course, it's very useful. On the other hand, I mean, visually is much better than Trados actually. On the other hand, maybe Trados is more difficult because it has more tools which are very useful. So, yeah, comparison. Okay,
Yeah,
you're right.
thank you. So, Christina, I'll send you a post survey with extra details about like follow-up questions for our topic. So as long as you
Okay.
keep time to fill that out so we could get some of your feedback. Also, it'd be great if you could send us your email address. So we'd like to send you a Google Drive to thank you for participating and a gift card. So we'll send that to you via email.
Okay. Okay.
Thanks so much. If you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to me as well.
Okay. Questions for the moment.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for your time. Great.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.